Welcome to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where we dissect the Railway series. I'm Jamie.
I'm Marina.
I'm Liv.
And we hope you enjoy the show. Welcome everybody to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where we talk about the funny talking trains and those books they originally came from.
Which we've been doing that, except for the We've been talking about the funny talking trains, but we haven't been talking about the books they came from.
Yeah, and I had to direct you to start talking about the books they came from, because that's my role here.
Exactly. Which, speaking of that, the story kind of sucks. Can we talk about something else? I wrote a fanfic. I joined a server called Ivanhoe Fanfic Hell. Look it up, it's a real place. And there was a prompt in there, so I ended up writing a story about Maki transforming Rin into a cat girl.
Anyway, unfortunately today we are going to be talking about the story, The Flying Kipper, second story in Henry the Green Engine. It sure is...
Funny Henry
AMV. It's a great graphical demo, and that's about it.
I love model railway running videos.
Yeah, I do too. They're good.
I actually do love model railway running videos.
Yeah, they're cool. I like to see the trains go.
You know, here's the thing. They're cool. It's just
not a very interesting story to just, have it just be that footage.
That's the thing. I may be the TV series bitch. The TV series version of this episode is worse than the book, and I don't even like the book story already.
We've forgotten to introduce ourselves. Hello.
Yeah, sorry. I derailed things again.
It's okay. It's okay. We had important things to talk about, like catgirl transformations or whatever. My name, I am Jamie. I am your hostess with the mostest, pronouns she, her.
As I mentioned, Marina, your TV series bitch. She, her.
I'm Liv. I'm the British one, and I'm also the one that keeps these two chuckle fucks actually on the topic.
Hey, I do a fair amount of keeping you fuckers on topic too. Don't claim sole responsibility for this.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say, to be fair, what happens most is I derail things, and then either you and I get into a conversation, or Jamie and I get into a conversation, and the other one has to rerail it. Which I'm sorry that I do that. I guess.
Mari, your presence on this podcast is a delight, and your insight into the stories is delightful as well.
Oh, you're a delight. But I do derail things a lot, you gotta admit. Which I'm doing right now!
This is a Thomas the Tank Engine podcast. Derailments are kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
And this story is the first one! Segue!
Yeah, it's the first... Yeah, epic segue. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to derail this epic segue as well to say, join the Discord.
Join the Discord!
Yes.
Join the Discord. We're doing it up front. We'll only do it if we remember it. We're not gonna write it in our notes. We're not gonna do anything. We're only going to pitch the Discord when we remember it. So come join the Discord.
I'm gonna write join the Discord on my wall.
We haven't ever failed to mention it by the end, which is the best part.
We always mention it. It's just a mystery as to when.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yep. But yeah, join the Discord.
I can't be on my toes. My toes are injured.
We have fun discussion about talking trains. You can ask us questions, and you'll be notified whenever a new episode comes out. So, it's a good time all around.
Fun. There's a lot of really nice people in there, and it's a lot of fun, and it's just a chill kind of place.
Hey.
The Flying Kipper. Lots of ships used to harbour at the big station by the sea. The passenger ships have spotless paint and shining brass. Other ships, though smaller and dirtier, are important too. They take coal, machinery, and other things abroad, and bring back meat, timber, and things we need. Fishing boats also come here. They unload their fish on the quay. Some of it is sent to shops in the town, and some goes in a special train to other places far away. The railwaymen called this train the Flying Kipper.
I really like this exposition about Tidmouth Harbor. Like, it's really
Yeah.
fun. I like the illustration for it, too. Like,
Yeah.
Also, in the TV series episode, this is the only time in season 1 we actually see the docks.
yeah. Which is really weird.
I like the gantry crane. I think
Yeah,
The
that's
gantry
gantry
crane
crane's
is
great.
so good. I love that
Yeah.
prop. I love that they made a wooden railway version of it. I always
Yes,
wanted
yeah.
that.
The
Same.
gantry crane, also known as what Carly should have.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing. Looking on eBay, or after I read the story, I immediately looked on eBay to try and find the gantry crane. I don't think I could, but
We
Yeah,
can
no.
cut this, but Paul's trying to walk on my fucking laptop again.
Oh.
he wants to contribute to the podcast.
Paul, I will give you food when the podcast is finished. You were fed earlier, you fat bastard.
What do you mean to your cat?
He's mean to me. He inconveniences me.
That's my
F,
job.
I guess.
Edward's in this picture.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Oh yeah.
This is the first time we see Edward with his number.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! I just realized
What's up?
he's got fucking Hornby Edward proportions. Look how big the tender is.
Oh, God.
Also, it's the SS Catherine.
Yep. It's a very weird way to spell Catherine, but, you know, names are spelled weird ways sometimes. It's fine. I do really like this illustration, though. Like, I mean, the SS Catherine looks a bit small compared to, like, whatever
Edward.
boat stuff is happening in the background, and Edward. But, you know, this is, I think it's, you know, it's a nice visual. Enjoy it.
It's a nice illustration. The lighting on the water is very pretty.
Yeah. It's good.
But
Hmm.
another example of Dalby being pretty good at landscape and more natural things, but being absolute dog shit at anything non-natural.
Yeah.
The rails are different sizes.
Again,
Yeah. That's Dalby for you.
who else but Dalby?
I think that's supposed to be a tugboat pulling those barges, but I'm not sure. And honestly,
10 cents.
it looks insanely. God, yes, it's 10 cents from Theodore the Tugboat.
Exactly.
God, been watching a bunch of Theodore episodes lately just to, like, you know, reacquaint myself with that show. It's so calming and nice.
Yeah.
The hit era wishes it had those immaculate vibes. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. It's cute. Like, I always really liked that.
Yeah.
I feel like Fedor is the kind of thing where they could bring it back quite easily and have it do well.
Yeah, like, you know, Theodore 2 still exists in the real world. You know.
He's moving.
Yeah. He's gone out onto the open ocean all on his own at the tender age of 21. It honestly made me very sad to, like, see all the news coverage of it, because, like, he's
Yeah.
leaving his home.
Yeah, no, he was literally docked outside of the place that the dock in the show was supposed to be right outside.
Yeah. Poor little guy. He's finally going out into the world. He's leaving the nest.
He's finally become an ocean tug.
What would his V word be? Because that's a thing they keep
Vagina.
bringing up in episodes.
I knew you were gonna say it.
I didn't. See, I was gonna be reasonable and suggest something relevant to his character, like fucking Theodore the Virtuous, because that is actually, like, relevant to his character, that he, like, you know, he learns all these lessons in the stories and has virtues, and that's, like,
That would have
his
fit.
whole thing. But, you know,
No, vagina.
sure, whatever, yeah.
I'm wonderful. Everybody loves it when I'm on this show.
God,
Everybody
okay.
appreciates me.
I appreciate you. I love you.
Aw.
Two things. Virtuous would genuinely fit, and, like, if they ever did that, like, in the series, like, I honestly think that's what it would be. Like, that's perfect. And also, I used to have a bunch of, like, fucking, like, cardboard theater tugboats when I was younger.
Aw.
Now I want to rebuild it and then put a fucking plate on it that just says vagina.
God. I have a Brio Theodore that I've had since I was a kid. I don't think I even knew what Theodore tugboat properly was. I kind of thought it was tugs, and like conflated those two. But like, you know, I still have it.
Do you want to know?
It's in pretty good condition, and I enjoy it very much.
Do you want to know something? Probably says a lot about me. I don't know what it says, but it probably says a lot. That when I was younger, like I'd watched Theodore Tugboat like once or twice when I was younger, but I mainly got into it through like YouTube uploads when I was like 10. And then I tried watching Tugs around the same time, but I didn't like it because I thought it was mean.
Well,
And like when I was like 12, it was like, oh fuck, this is the best shit in the world. And then now I don't really know how I feel about it. But
I'm just imagining like 10-year-old Mari just like sitting at her laptop or like a computer is just, I don't like this.
yeah, no, I tried.
Mean.
I watched the episode Warrior, like on like the family computer in my living room. I don't know why I didn't like it. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, Warriors. I don't. That episode's kind of like just okay.
It gave
Like,
me
It's one of my
vibes,
favorites
and
because
I didn't
love
know.
Warrior. Like Warrior's like my favorite fucking tug.
Fair.
Yeah, Warrior's cool. I feel like to have an episode named after a character, it feels weird for it to be named after the character, because it doesn't really feel like it's the perfect showcase of that character, I guess. Like,
Yeah, I
don't
got
know.
ya.
I feel like
Bumbling
Sunshine probably
fuck-up who
suffers.
occasionally does something amazing. That's a
I mean,
pretty
it
accurate
works.
description of Warrior.
I'll give it that it works better for that naming format than Sunshine does. Because, like, Sunshine's episode really isn't about Sunshine. It's just kind of, like, mostly just because it has to introduce everything. And, like, you know,
Yeah.
Sunshine shows up in this episode and is a major player, but it's not... We don't really get much insight into his character. He just, you know, he appears, he's nice, he gets framed for fucking up, and then gets depressed, and then turns out, oh, you didn't do anything bad. And then he joins. It doesn't, like, provide any major character insight. It's just a fairly simple introduction.
We have spent more time talking about tugs and fetal tugboat on this page than we have about the actual page.
Yeah.
Because the page is pretty nothing and the story is nothing.
It's just exposition, and, you know, it's very... I enjoy the wording of the exposition. It's very nice, but there's not a lot to talk about, other than, hey, this is exposition about this train called the Flying Kipper, and about
I
these
do
docks.
like the name the Flying Kipper.
It's a very good name.
Yeah.
Like, I like the name the Flying Kipper, and I like that, even if indirectly and not really in the books, this gives Henry, like, his own special job.
Yeah, I have thoughts on
Yeah.
that, but that's for later.
Okay.
Before I move on to the next page, I have one last musing on Theodore and Tugs, and that is that I very much... I do kind of like thinking about, like, the possibility of Theodore and Tugs being in the same universe, because it is kind of, like... It's kind of soothing to an extent, where, like, you
Yeah.
see Big City and all of the, like, you know, fraught economic rivalries and, like, you know, all the shit that happens, and it's, you know, it's much darker than, like, Thomas, even in the Railway series, I think, because, like, you know,
Yeah.
in Thomas, you can, you know, argue the whole, oh, it's just, you know, the faces are a metaphor, they're not actually living beings. In Tugs, they are inarguably living beings, which, you know, makes
They
all
imply
of the
they
stuff
get
inherently
pensions.
darker. I'm sorry?
They imply in Munitions that they get pensions.
Yeah, they get compensated for their labor. They literally, you know, I think this is part of why the bouncing upsets people too, is because, like, if the trains can bounce and writhe around their bodies, but the faces are supposed to be like, are supposed to be metaphors or whatever, how do you reconcile that? But
Really shitty maintenance.
Thomas
But,
is just like almost breaking off his chassis constantly.
yeah. But, like, thinking about the idea of Theodore being the end point of the Tugs timeline is really soothing, because none of that, over time, none of that animosity exists anymore. It's just peaceful. The world of boats is peaceful. And that's a really good ending for that universe, I think.
Hey, it's a good ending.
Yeah.
One winter evening, Henry's driver said, "We'll be out early tomorrow. We've got to take the Flying Kipper." "Don't tell Gordon," he whispered, "but I think if we pull the Kipper nicely, the Fat Controller will let us pull the Express." "Hurrah!" called Henry, excited. "That will be lovely." He was ready at 5 o'clock. There was snow and frost. Men hustled and shouted, loading the vans with crates of fish. The last door banged, the guard showed his green lamp, and they were off.
I'm glad they're referencing the special coal as being good, and, like, kind of saying, oh, if we do this well, maybe we'll get to pull the Express. Like, that's fun. But, like, other than that, there's not really a lot to say. It's just kind of like,
The illustration.
Here
really
is Henry's
good.
introduction into the story, and here he goes.
Yeah, I like this sort of, like, inside dock station thing.
Yeah. Also, I just think
it's
I
cool.
think, like, Darby, this is one of the very rare occasions where Darby draws Henry 1 really well.
Yeah, he looks good here.
Yeah. I guess with Henry 1, it probably doesn't help that I don't think he had a reference for that.
Yeah, that is definitely why Audrey does what he does for this, like, story, but,
Yeah.
it is nice that, he actually does draw Henry 1 pretty well in his last few appearances.
Do you think that was Audrey just being like, okay, this is literally the story where I have to redesign Henry so you stop fucking up. If you break him again, I am going to kill you.
Yeah!
How did this guy stay... How did it take, like, 6 or 7 more books for...
It was probably just like a contract thing, or like maybe the publishers didn't know how much Audrey fucking hated him.
Yeah. Like, they were like, they stayed together for the sake of the kids. The kids in the space. The kids in this case being the books.
So many people rely on him. Honestly, I have nothing else to say. I just think this illustration is very nice. And
Yeah,
I like
that's
Henry.
all I have to say too. Good God.
Yeah, that's all my thoughts on this are. Was this the page where...
Is this where truck
Everybody,
happens?
this is James the Red Engine 2.0. At some point, we're all going to just have a deal with a psychotic break, and we're just going to start going fucking insane.
Yeah.
Was this the part of the episode where I wrote in my notes, "Oh, he has right head code, no spaces, get fucked arc, really series accuracy"?
Maybe. That might also be the next one. I do like that they keep the right head code in the TV series, probably just because that was the lamp he had. And it's the right head code.
And then, like...
And I really wish that was, like, Henry's head code going forward when they started, like, keeping lamps on the engines permanently. Like, they put Gordon in Express head code. Why couldn't they put the extra lamp on Henry? Like, that's part of why Tommy Henry is the best Henry, is because it has the...
Yeah,
I always really liked Tommy Henry because it had the lamps.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was referencing, but I thought it was cool.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Liv?
Honestly, I do think it would have actually been quite a nice little detail if all of the engines had, like, not, like, dynamic head codes that they change, but more kind of like, they have a head code that fits the kind of job they typically do.
Yeah.
Like Thomas would have like a stopping passenger head code, and Percy would have like a slow goods head code and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and then Toby just has his one little lamp, because Toby without that lamp is fucking wrong.
Yeah.
I'm having a staring contest with Capsule Playrail Thomas right now.
Are you okay?
None of us are okay. That's just what the story is
We're
doing
reading
to us.
None of us are okay. We're reading The Flying Kipper.
God, the rest of this book is gonna be so fucking dire.
If you saw the shit I sent you that I wrote this morning, I am not okay.
Let's
Can I
go to the
move
next
on?
page. Let's save
Yes.
ourselves.
Okay. Come on, don't be silly, puffed Henry to the vans. His wheels slipped from the icy rails. The vans shuddered and groaned. Trot, trick, all right, they answered grudgingly. That is better, puffed Henry more happily, as the train began to gather speed. Thick clouds of smoke and steam poured from his funnel into the cold air, and when his fireman put on more coal, the fire's light shone brightly on the snow around.
God, this illustration is so fucking beautiful.
I love this illustration.
It is the
This-
best.
This and like the next one for weird some reason gave me like specifically like the Polar Express book vibes.
Yeah,
Like,
I,
you
I
seen
think
the
it's
illustrations
because of
from
the,
that?
like,
I haven't.
I think it's
but,
because of
you
the
know.
like the bright light of like the fire and stuff on the snow.
Yeah, like, oh God, I love that. I didn't realize that was a detail on the page, in the text that Dalby put onto the page. That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Like especially this next illustration too. Like, it's just so good. Ah!
We've made like a few jokes about it, but I do get what Tug means with like Henry. Like Henry looks cool. And you get him with the right
Yeah.
lighting, and you get him with like a long train like that. He just looks neat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a cool big engine.
This is what makes this one of the top 10 Thomas episodes to get murdered while watching.
Yeah, it's a pretty Henry AMV, ergo best episode ever.
Exactly. Serious thing though, like, absolutely respect people that enjoy this story in this episode. This has just never really been one that appealed to me that much.
See,
Like,
I don't think it's that good of an episode, but I always really enjoyed watching it just because I thought it was pretty.
Yeah, same here.
yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
you know, I've probably already made this joke like 2 times this episode and I've forgotten already. It's a very good tech demo.
Yeah.
I love Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah. This is the Luigi's Mansion of Railway series stories.
Fucking, I wish this had, like, what the fucking
Mario.
Luigi's meant. Yeah, I wish this had the Luigi's tech, like, Luigi's Mansion tech demo thing where, like, fucking Mario could die in it. Like, he didn't, like,
The story will
like,
only
beat
be
the
good if
game
Mario
quick enough.
dies.
You know, you
That's the
just
thing. That's the thing, right? If Henry arrives a little bit too early, then he actually does hit into the fucking brake van, and then Mario dies because Mario is the fireman.
I was gonna say that Henry dies. But that works too.
No, it's just Mario is just here. He
Good.
spends his holidays on Sodor.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I
I also like with the illustration. I just really like kind of like the writing of this. It feels very like grand. Just like
Yeah,
the
I
way
get
it
that.
talks about like the steam and everything. It feels good. I like it.
That's fair.
Hmm.
I like Johnny Morris's like dying Henry voice, just going like, "Don't be silly, don't be silly."
Yeah, it's very good.
Hurry, hurry, hurry! Panted Henry. They whooshed under bridges and clattered through stations, green signal lights showing as they passed. They were going well. The lights grew better as a yellow signal appeared ahead. Distant signal up, thought Henry. Caution! His driver, shutting off steam, prepared to stop. But the home signal was down. All clear, Henry. Away we go. They couldn't know the points from the main line to a siding were frozen, and that the signal had been set to danger. A fall of snow had forced it down.
I really like this illustration again. Very good tech demo. I
Hmm.
I do really like this part of the story though. That like the snow and ice like doing stuff with the points. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
it's interesting.
Henry's about to
should we-
crash, but it is definitely not his fault. Like they couldn't know. Like snow and ice caused the accident. It's not their fault. But
Yeah.
Henry is still gonna be in a world of hurt for this, and it's like saddening and upsetting. But that's that's what it's going for, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Do we want to explain distant and home signals for anybody who might
Yeah.
not be familiar with the concept?
You're gonna have to be the one to do that because I don't understand that shit.
Okay, so this is how I understand it. I could be wrong on this, so like don't take this as definitive fact. My understanding of distant and home signals is a distant signal is set in between two home signals. Home signals are the red ones, like the main ones. So a distant signal, essentially it tells you what the next home signal is currently set at, so that you have better time to prepare for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason that Henry assumes things are okay now is because the distant signal is caution because that's like, oh, the next home signal is at stop. But then they get to the home signal and it's down. So they just keep going because they think, oh, it probably changed.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cool.
Okay.
That was both for Mari and for anybody who else might not be familiar with this concept.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was watching the episode and I was just thinking, yeah, I should probably explain this for Mari because I mentioned she'll be confused.
Honestly, I just never thought about it. It was just like, okay, signal got pushed down.
See, this is the thing. Even as a kid, I was kind of confused by that phrasing because, like, they never mentioned distant or home signals beyond that in the series.
Yeah, it was just the kind of thing where it all just sounds like words to me. Like, my brain registers
they are
it.
words.
No, you know what I mean. Like, it just registers as like, okay, the signal was pushed down because of snow when signal shouldn't be.
Yeah,
I think
like
that is-
even if you don't understand
That
the
is
nitty gritty,
essentially what happened, yeah.
yeah, even if you don't understand the nitty gritty concepts of it, it's like explain the way where you like it. Okay, the signal is not supposed to do that, so it's being misleading, and now Henry is speeding headlong into danger. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I've
You can
just
tell
been
he's
staring
speeding.
at.
Look at him fucking Newman like that.
Yeah, those speed lines are so fucking delicious. I've just been staring at this illustration because it's pretty, and I just noticed that it looks like Henry's lamps have like moved back along his running board. Probably some
Oh,
more
no.
perspective weirdness.
That's a goof.
Goof number 69.
Nice. A goods train waited in the siding to let the Flying Kipper pass. Driver and fireman were drinking cocoa in the brake van. The guard pulled out his watch. The Kipper is due, he said. Who cares, said the fireman. This is good cocoa. The driver got up. Come on, fireman, back to our engine. Hey, the fireman grumbled. I haven't finished my cocoa yet. A sudden crash. The brake van broke. The three men shot up in the air like Jack in the Box and landed in the snow outside.
This is fucking funny. Like,
Yeah,
the TV series are cowards for not leaving that in. I don't care if realistically they should be dead. This is fucking hilarious.
yeah, no, I don't get why they didn't include it, because, like,
I'm imagining if they
It
did
also
require
establishes
having
that they're
them
not-
to like film a shot of the three figures
Yeah.
just flying through the air, and while that would be very funny, it would definitely be both hard to accomplish and hard to make look good. It's probably why
Yeah.
they didn't do it.
yeah.
See, no, well,
Even
they should have just had a clip of David Mitten just grabbing one in his hand and flinging it across the room.
I feel like they could have gotten away with, like, something like we kind of see in the next illustration, where, like, you see Henry crash, and then afterwards you can see, like, the guy sticking out from the snow, but then it's probably just a case of where they didn't want to use people moving. 'Cause
Yeah.
it seems like they avoid that as much as possible, and it's to the detriment here because this is the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
It's a fun
Also,
moment. Like we don't we never see this fireman again, but we already know he really fucking loves this hot chocolate.
Yeah, it's fucking wonderful. I'm glad they retained this bit, at least, at least the part about the good cocoa. But,
They don't include the payoff though, which we'll get to the next page, which is the best part.
Yeah.
Also,
I do like this, I do like this scene inside the brake van. It's very nice. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that little, I think that little, stove or whatever the proper word is in there might be a bit too small, but, I mean,
That's actually a thing. Like, most brake fans have a little stove like that.
Yeah, I figured it. I just figured they'd be a little bit bigger.
They would be.
Wait,
It's just kind of like... It's just kind of like so that the guards can keep warm and stuff, because they wouldn't have any heating.
Oh,
Yeah.
God,
So, I don't know if you ever noticed, Mari, but on Toad, he has, the little, black stumpy bit.
Oh, that's the funnel
That's his funnel.
thingy.
Yeah, that's his funnel for his little stove.
Huh. Neat.
I believe for Toad, he has, a few little, seats. I think he has a little desk in there, actually.
Yeah.
Toad's
Brake
actually a
vans and
pretty well-equipped
cabooses are
brake van.
surprisingly decked out a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They're important pieces of rolling stock, or at least they used to be.
Now we don't use them.
Yeah, now we just have Fred. Fuck Fred.
What?
Flashing rear end device. That's the name of the fucking detector box they put at the end of American trains nowadays.
Does it yell like Fred from Fred?
Have you guys seen? I don't know where it is, but there's a type of brake van in the UK called a Shark, and there's just been a Shark brake van that's just been rotting away in a siding next to a mainline station since the 60s, and it's become kind of a little mini tourist attraction. You gonna go see the rotting Shark brake van? It's right here. It's always there. Never moves.
God, it'll be fucking disappointing once someone decides to remove it, because you can't remove it. That's its thing. You don't move it.
All I could think of when you said Shark was the really.
If you say when the engine split.
Yeah, when the engine split.
God.
Shark. Specifically, just what's your name? Shark. Interesting name. Got a problem with it. It's Combine Harvester's delivery. Okay, I can't replicate it, but he was good. Yeah.
Do we have anything else?
No.
It's a funny page. That is all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should I move on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Henry's driver and fireman jumped clear before the crash. The fireman fell headfirst into a heap of snow. He kicked so hard that the driver couldn't pull him out. Henry sprawled on his side. He looked surprised. The goods train fireman waved his empty mug. "You clumsy great engine! The best cup of cocoa I've ever had, and you bump into me and spill it all!" "Never mind your cocoa, fireman," laughed the driver. "Run and telephone the breakdown gang."
God, I fucking love that line. It's
Yeah.
the best cocoa I've ever had.
I like that I like that Henry's just lying fucking
He doesn't
dead
even know
on the
what
ground.
happened.
He is
Yeah,
on
and
the
then
ground
he's
screaming in
just waving
pain.
a cup at him.
He's lying on the ground and screaming in pain, and this asshole is just like, "Hey, what the fuck did you do to my cocoa?"
Yeah, no, this guy's the best part of the story.
I do like the fact that you could see his very angry footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Also
I do love this, but I feel like there is something to be said that the atmosphere in the TV version is a little bit better, because in this one, day is breaking over the scene of the accident, but
Sleepy town waking.
God, but I don't know, just the way it's kind of the way this accident is framed is like nowhere near as like,
It
I
feels a
guess
lot more
cool
serious
as
in
the
the
TV
show because there's
series.
in the show it feels a lot more serious because they give it a lot more time and there's not like an immediately comedic scene afterwards.
Yeah, like it, like they have the cool like accident scene, but like in this one, like they make a lot of like I feel like they kind of skim over the entirety of the crash. Like we don't
Mm.
see it. It's
Yeah.
just kind of like okay, Henry crashes into the brake van off screen, and we see it from the perspective of those guys, but like we don't and like, oh, Henry's fire driver and fireman jumps out, but the fireman lands in the snow in his face. Ha ha ha. But like, just kind of ignoring what is supposed to be a very serious train crash, which requires Henry be entirely rebuilt. So,
If it helps, we do have a much better accident involving a green engine and a brake van when we get to branch line engines.
yeah, that one's really good. But yeah, I feel like they did the crash way better in the TV series,
Yeah,
which is a
I
shame
think
because
the
Yeah.
that
build
version
up of
lacks
it.
the cool Coco stuff.
I think the build up of like the music starting to change and then like get progressively more and more intense and like the whistle and the music cuts out completely as soon as he hits the brake band.
Yeah, it's so
Like
good.
I feel like both versions of these stories have this story have like a few really good moments, but not really enough to save it ultimately.
Yeah,
Yeah. They have good qualities, but honestly, that's it for me.
yeah.
This Crash looks cool.
Crash is
Yeah.
very cool.
Coco
Big
guy is
Crash
funny.
Boom. Uh, you know, I admire this. I admire this guy's priorities to just be very mad about this.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
admire. I admire how this guy's priorities is to be very mad about losing
Oh,
Coco and not, hey, you just plowed into the back of my fucking train.
yeah. Sorry, I zoned out for a second.
Okay.
I was looking at your notes before we started this, and like I think you mentioned like you always assumed that this train was James.
Yeah,
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 I
that's the
did
thing.
too.
First, I don't know why I thought that. Because
I
it's
guess it's
like
because
in.
James comes to the rescue in the end of the episode. I think
Oh,
most
that's
people
probably
assume
it.
it's
Because it
James.
was.
Yeah,
Because
I
it
see.
was like.
I assumed I as a kid in my mind's eye, what happened was Henry crashes into James. His driver and fireman like don't want to keep going, so they just fucking leave James there for the night. There's just the two of them just stuck in the snow.
Yeah. For, for some reason, like, I had thought there was a shot where, like, you see James's tender or something, like, before Henry crashes, but, like,
Maybe?
it's not.
You
It's.
might do like he
No,
might be kind of far in
it's
the background.
that's the thing though, like, and that's why I noted it. It was because I like it isn't in the episode. Like there isn't a part
Oh,
where you see it, which I don't know why I thought it was a thing. Mainly because it's like the only idea I had was because in like Don's version of this, it's James's train, and that kind of plays into like part of the story because he just like feels terrible because like Don actually gives Henry getting incredibly messed up in an accident actual weight.
Yeah.
I mean, what? And
The TV series
but
version
like
does it
I
pretty
thought
well
it
too, but
before that. Yeah, honestly just both versions of the story don't really do it for me. I don't
yeah.
really know why. But yeah,
It's
for some
'cause
reason I
tech
always thought it was
I
demo.
James. Yeah.
this is a weird story. The gang soon cleared the line. They had hard work lifting Henry to the rails. The fat controller came to see him. The signal was down, sir, said Henry nervously. Cheer up, Henry. It wasn't your fault. Ice and snow caused the accident. I'm sending you to Crew, a fine place for sick engines. They'll give you a new shape and a larger firebox. Then you'll feel a different engine and won't need special coal anymore. Won't that be nice? Yes, sir, said Henry doubtfully.
So now Henry is being sent to crew so he can be based on a real engine Dolby can't fuck up. And I do kind of like how Henry looks here. You know, I
He's missing his buffers.
yeah, I think they must have like
They came off.
had some reason to take it off. Same with the cab roof. I don't know why, but I always thought that because Sir Topham Hatt is in the way of wherever Henry's like second front wheel is supposed to be, I always thought that Henry was supposed to be like a 262 in this illustration, which is weird.
This is the thing, the other wheels fell off.
Yeah, totally. That's totally what happened. They removed his side rods too.
Oh yeah.
Even on the side where they probably wouldn't have been that fucked up.
I guess it was just like a matter of like taking the stuff off. It's like just like
They can just roll
taking
in
things
there.
off that are too damaged to fix, and then removing the side rod so it's easier to move.
Yeah. I do like that the Fat Controller is not blaming Henry for this. Because, you know...
it's
Yeah,
not
no,
Henry's
that's-
fault.
Yeah.
I like that. Which I don't know what it says that at this point. That like that's noteworthy, but like it's nice.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
glad.
you know, because, like, there are a lot of stories where it kind of feels like, you know, oh, this thing happened that's not really the engine's fault if you think about it, but they still get yelled at for it. But,
Yeah.
like, you know...
Here, that's not even an issue.
Yeah. You know, we'll talk about, like, stuff like that when we get to it, I guess.
Yeah,
It's just
but
it's
not an
very
issue
nice
here, which
that
is
it's
nice.
Yeah.
it's nice that the Fat Controller took the time to come here and tell Henry that it's not his fault and like what's gonna happen next.
So yeah, Henry's gonna go get rebuilt, and he won't need special coal anymore.
Yeah.
So just
And
everything
he did
that
get
happened in the
rebuilt.
last
There
story
aren't two
doesn't
different
matter anymore,
Henrys.
I guess.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of just make the last one pointless.
I mean, I feel like, you know, this Henry getting rebuilt and circumventing the need for special coal is not like... I don't feel like it's inherently disvalues the last story, because, you know, I feel like, you know, we were talking about last time how, like, you know, it'd be relatable for, like, people who have to take medication or stuff like that. Like, people who take medication or have special diets to be represented in Henry who need special coal. But at the same time, I feel like other disabled people would also be able to relate to Henry, where he, when he gets rebuilt and it's no longer a problem for him, because that is also on the
Yeah.
roadmap for certain, like, you know, people with medical issues. I just wish it was paced better, is the thing.
Yeah.
Because it basically goes like, you know, we have basically sped run Henry's entire arc. And
That's the thing that bothers me, is there isn't an arc here.
like
they
there's the
start
makings
with Henry,
of one,
like,
but the way
"Oh,
it's
I'm in
structured is
pain."
just wrong.
And then they give him something that fixes the problem. And then in the next story, it's like, Henry take train crash. Oh, we're just gonna get you fixed anyway. It's like, okay. And then the rest of this book is literally not enough content that there's a filler story. in
Yeah,
the
like
middle.
there's the
A
makings
literal
here for a
filler
good arc.
story.
There's a makings here for a good arc, but it is entirely wasted in its pacing.
I think maybe a better setup for this would be like Henry gets the special coal in the first story like he does in the actual book. And then there's like a few stories about him dealing with that. I think we mentioned last time of maybe like
Gordon's
Whistle
Whistle, I
like
think, would be a good...
Gordon being shitty is like he wants the special coal.
Yeah.
And then the final story is like he does get rebuilt, but maybe to give it a bit more character, maybe like Henry sees the train ahead of him and he has to like slow it down, which is something he wouldn't really be able to do because he wasn't very strong beforehand. So it's like it gives a little bit more character to the story, and it gives him being rebuilt a bit more of like a, you've earned this, champ.
Yeah, that'd be a good way of doing it.
I guess, I don't know, I feel like this crash is like very... If it had the actual, like, you know, weight of a proper arc behind it, I feel like this story would be like way better because like by that point,
I
like
think
Henry's
the
already
lack of build-up
proved.
to it is
We've
definitely
seen
a lot
in
of the
multiple
issue.
stories that Henry is like, you know,
That's...
Henry has been doing great. He is so much better now like this. But now, because of things that were entirely out of control, he's just been set back so far just by being just fucked up in this crash. And we're really worried for like, oh, what's gonna happen to Henry now? There's so much they could have done to improve this, and I think, you know, just changing the order of the stories would have been the first way to go.
That's honestly the thing, though. Like, even if it was just, like part of my issue with this whole story is that, like Henry doesn't react to it or anything.
I mean,
Like,
I feel like that's kind of Henry's issue in this entire book, is he's not proactive.
honestly, it's like, I know I always end up bringing this up, but that's part of why I really like Don's version of the story, because it's about both him and the other engines actually, like, reacting to what's supposed to be a big event.
I feel
Whereas,
like Henry does
like,
a lot
here
of
this
reacting
just-
in this story, actually. Because, like, he reacts to the news of Crew with, like, hesitation. He's nervous when he has to talk to the Fat Controller. You know, we see his shocked expression after he crashes. Like, you know, Henry is pretty expressive in this story, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
See, my issue with this book is just that Henry doesn't feel like he's ever being proactive.
I guess,
Like-
but I feel this is the kind. I don't feel like it's the kind of problem you can really be proactive about. Like, you know,
it's like-
it's not like Henry
like I
can
said,
just
I feel
work
like-
hard. Like, if Henry didn't, it's not like Henry could just, like, you know, work harder or just get good and the coal thing wouldn't be an issue for him anymore. Like, he had to
justify it
find
to get
that, he had
good.
had that solution, like, essentially prescribed for him, and then he's better. Like, there's not really much you can do in this situation.
See, I feel like the resolution of Henry needing the special coal and then getting rebuilt, I feel like Henry himself doesn't really have much stakes in that. I do like the idea of, like, Henry is, like, lifted up and then gets knocked down but then comes back even stronger again. But as it is, it feels like it's not earned.
I mean, I wouldn't say he really needs to earn it, just because, like...
No, I don't think Henry needs to earn it. I think the story needs to earn it.
I don't know.
I've mentioned this a couple of times, but, like, this is one of those things where it's like, I feel like retroactively people remember it as way bigger than it was. Like, oh, this is like Henry's big arc in the Railway series where, like, his character progresses and he becomes a better, like, confident engine. But it's like, not really. And, like, I've also said this before, but, like, genuinely, I think CGI James gets a better arc than this. Like, if you ignore Apology Impossible, which I wouldn't be surprised if it was meant to be a season 21
I wish
episode.
I could ignore Apology Impossible.
God, I wish I
That's
could ignore
why-
that episode.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that if you assume that that episode was meant to be a season 21 episode, which it very likely was, then, like, he actually gets a character arc. Like, he fucks up, reflects on that fuck up, shows, like, at the end of the episode that, like, he's realized it. Like, there's no, like, haha, he's going back to it joke. And then it just doesn't happen again, to the degree that, like, 2 seasons later, they're kind of able to make a subtle joke where, like, the one good, really, part of Marvelous Machinery, where, like, everyone else is, like, fucked up and crashed, and, like, James is just confused, because he's the only one there. Which is, like, is a good gag, and it's like, that's not much, yeah. But, like, that's a character arc? Whereas here, it's like... stuff happens. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
think
disappointing.
this story is the kind of thing which could do really well if readapted.
Definitely, yeah. Like
Dawn's
I,
version.
the
I feel
pacing,
like, hypothetically, if we got an Adventure Continues, and we got a Flying Kipper Henry arc, they could have done really well with that.
yeah, like, this is, like, honestly, I feel like what I would do if I was readapting, personally, is to have this be one of the first Henry stories, and then, you know, have Henry, like, basically just make up different, like, events for Henry along the series. So, like, basically, like, you know, if we're starting at Thomas the Tank Engine, you know, Henry gets a special coal the first time he gets sick, and have that be a whole story where, like, they figure out he needs a special coal and they get it for him. His other episodes are kind of, like, restructured a bit to, like, fit around that, and then towards the very end of the season is when he gets his accident, and then, like, you know, returns at the end. Yeah. So that way, like, Henry spends more time on the special coal, and we get to, like,
Yeah.
you know, see more about him and stuff.
I mean, I like that idea. I like, I don't know, I don't think either of you have seen DuckTales 2017.
Oh,
But, like, I really like what they do in that show because they take stuff from the original series and they remix it and recontextualize it to a way where it's still calling back to what happened before, but they're not just rehashing it. They're using it to build something new and better.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that could be done really well with a lot of the early Railway series.
Yeah, I feel like ideally, like, God, I was gonna save it for our flashback episode in, like, fucking however many weeks, but, like, you know, I feel like my ideal vision for a Railway series readaptation is, like, you know, remixing the early books and then keeping the, like, you know, readapting it so that, like, you know, the early stuff is most of what gets changed and the later stuff is it'd also be changed a little bit, but it'd be mostly kept intact. Just because I feel like that'd make for the most perfect adaptation.
I haven't read enough to be of, like, the later stuff recently to be able to comment on that.
Well, we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah.
Hey.
Henry liked being at Crewe, but was glad to come home. A crowd of people waited to see him arrive in his new shape. He looked so splendid and strong that they gave him 3 cheers. Beep, 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 beep. Thank you very much, he whistled happily. I am sorry to say that a lot of little boys are often late for school because they wait to see Henry go by. They often see him pulling the express, and he does it so well that Gordon is jealous. But that's another story.
I love that line about little boys being late to school. That's funny.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be honest, if I lived next to a fucking train line and I just, like, had fucking Henry, he was just there, I wouldn't go to school. I'd just watch Henry.
Yeah, fucking me
When
neither.
they got bored of him, they just started chucking bricks at him.
So yeah, Henry's big new shape. So
He's a Black 5 now.
Yeah, I probably should have, like, talked about the actual, like, lore stuff on the last page where Sir Matt talked about sending him to Crewe, but I didn't think of that because we were all just fucking dying. So Crewe is a real location in the real world. It is home to the main works of the London, Midland, and Scottish Railways, and at the time was headed by Chief Mechanical Engineer William Stanier. So, in the lore books, apparently Topham somehow managed to get this to happen because Topham and Stanier were both apprentices together at Swindon. And, like, I guess Topham just, like, had the ability, like, he had some, like, fucking, I don't know, like, he had the ability to call in a favor, and Stanier was like, yeah, sure, okay.
He knew about Stanley's internet history.
God. I'm pretty sure this is like an I'm pretty sure this is like the fucking Fact Controller Twitter account headcanon, but I'm pretty sure it was like, you know, at least in that version, it's like, you know, fucking they spilled coffee all over some, like, important papers or something and had to, like, fix them very quickly.
Nice.
But yeah, since this story takes place in 1935, Stanier's famous Black 5 mixed traffic locomotives have been brought into service a year earlier, so it makes sense that Henry would be rebuilt into this design because, you know, they just got finished making it, and hey, here's an engine we can, like, make into that kind of design.
They
I
are
guess.
widely considered one of the most successful goods engines in the country.
Yeah, because they can fucking do anything. They can pull expresses, they can pull goods, they can pull passengers. Like, they're just really good locomotives.
You know how Terrence says I can go anywhere? You know, no, he fucking can't. Henry can go anywhere.
Yeah. So, and also because the Black 5 is a well-known real locomotive that has models made of it, Dolby no longer has any excuse to fuck up the design. He is very clearly a Black 5 from this point onwards, and Dolby's pretty good at depicting a Black 5, honestly. Like This is a pretty good illustration. Like, Henry's wheel spacing looks a little bit weird, and his tender looks wonky, but, you know, the main shape of the body looks great.
Which, for Dolby, is pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah. And, you know, the change between Henry 1 and Henry 2 in the TV series was nowhere near as extreme just because they couldn't afford to be that extreme because they had to share the same model.
They kind of...
But, you know, Henry looks fine
built
in
Henry's,
the TV series.
They built Henry's prop, I feel like, with the intention of it looking more like Henry 2 than Henry 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they just flipped the, like, center thing, and I think give him a couple little extra thingies.
What they do is
they removed the
him a new
splashers, they gave him the steam
and they get rid of
pipes,
his splashers.
they added the sand hatch, and then the firebox piece is supposed to be 2 different pieces on each one. But it loses out details like the kind of like the specific shape of the running board where it kind of like juts out a little bit. I can't words. And they also, apparently they were gonna cut the like little frame plates on Henry so that way they were triangles like they are in this, but they kept them as like, you know, kind of rounded off like Gordon's for some reason. That's weird.
Huh. Strange.
Wait, what are we looking at?
The frame plates, at least I think that's what they're called, the black triangle bits on the front of Henry's running board.
Oh, right, the neck.
The neck, yes. But yeah, in the Lord books, Audrey describes the shapes as Henry 1 and Henry 2 because Henry has been 2 different types of engines in his life, so it makes more sense to refer to each of the engines he has been as, like, you know, different engines since they are, you know, they are technically 2 different classes of engines, so even though it's the same person that has been both types of engines, it makes sense to refer to the body separately. This has created a lot of conspiracies about fucking Henry being replaced by some entire other engines, which is insane.
Henry. Okay, but
I think Audrey might have been trying to invoke a little bit of the ship of Theseus in the books, when he's like, you know, how Audrey could send back the deplorable Henry 1 and get back the very good Henry 2 is quite a mystery. But I think he was trying to invoke the ship of Theseus there. But I don't think he ever meant to say, yeah, these 2 are 2 separate engines, Henry 1 is just dead. Like, that's, like, the wording is vague enough where you could read it as such. But I don't think that's what he was trying to say.
It's not vague, it's... I think the issue comes down to how you view the engines as characters to a degree and as real and alive, because it's like the way it's worded makes sense from like a railway, like real life perspective. Like, they're like, oh, I worked on Henry 1, he was shit. Oh, I worked on Henry 2. Or, like, I never worked on Henry 1. But, like... Which, like, makes sense from the perspective of an engine in real life that was almost completely rebuilt. But when like they're supposed to be talking about a character.
Yeah,
I
that
think
does have, like,
literally-
implications, I guess.
It's just like I feel like it would have all been fixed if there was just a like, oh I worked with Henry before his rebuild or something, like something that acknowledged it from a perspective of like at least implying that the characters are alive, because when you're talking about a character with terms used for like basically the equivalent of getting your car replaced, like it, like of course people get the idea that it's like, oh, are these, is this implying they're two different ones, because it's like that's what it's supposed to be from like a real world perspective, but like it doesn't work as much when you're talking about like a character that's supposed to be a sentient being.
Well, I think part of it is that the Henry 1 and Henry 2 are not, like... That's not the terminology they ever use in the stories. It's always like, new shape and old shape, which pretty clearly denotes, like, this is the same engine, just, in a different, like, form.
But
right?
Yeah,
Henry
but
1 and Henry 2 only really exists in those lore books, so I don't
And
think
that's
I'd really
what
count
raises
them
the
as
question.
diegetic.
See, I actually have a theory with this.
Mm-hmm.
So, the lore books, like, I feel like the lore books and the actual series are kind of separate from one another in that the lore books look at the island as if it's a more real thing, whereas the series looks at it as if it's more character-based. So, if he was writing the lore books in the context of talking about the characters, then it would have said Henry before his rebuild. But he was going into it with the assumption that it was like a in-universe description of a real railway kind of thing. Which makes sense in theory, but it raises the issue of the way you phrase this is a little bit dumb.
Yeah, which is why the like ambiguity only exists from the like perspective of the books rather than like the lore book rather than
Yeah.
actual.
See, he definitely did not intend Henry to be killed off and then there's a different Henry. That was definitely not his intention. Like, I think pretty much everybody can agree on that.
Yeah,
But-
like, I feel like it would entirely kind of, like, defeat the point of, like, trying
Yeah.
to work with Henry and, like, redeem him in this book to, like,
Yeah.
just be like, okay, yeah, Henry actually died on the way to his home planet. Here's Benry.
Oh, it's Benry!
Oh no!
No,
it
there
all
was
comes
two
full
Henrys.
cube.
This is the thing. Henry was going to be rebuilt, but he wasn't. He never made it there.
Benry stole his body before he could make it to crew.
It all comes full cube. Henry hasn't moved on.
So, yeah, I think basically what happened is Henry, without any shadow of a doubt, is meant to be one engine who was very drastically rebuilt, and because of the way Audrey was aiming to write people, history, and railways and reading between the lines, it just so happened that he comes across talking about him more artificially, which kind of confuses what they were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it gave us some character special plot lines.
Yep. But yeah.
You
I
have
like the
anything else
Black
to say?
5 basis. I'm pretty sure, like, isn't Henry supposed to be, like, canonically a little bit smaller than a Black 5?
I wouldn't know.
Like, I remember that might have been something they made up for the Fat Controller account, but
I know the Fat Controller account has him as a Northwestern Railway Green 5, which I think is a pretty funky idea.
yeah, like, he's based on the Black 5, but he's a little bit smaller just because that was as big as they could get him based on the parts they had. But, like, I do think it's cute, the idea that
Okay,
Henry
but
is,
the
like,
idea-
he's supposed to be, like, a big, cool Black 5, but he is still, like, a little bit of a runt. I think that's funny.
He's like Ash's Charizard.
Yeah.
He's a manlet.
It's like Ash's Charizard, where Ash's Charizard is a little grumpy bastard baby, but in comparison to actual Charizards, he's like a fucking actual child.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I do really like the idea of, like, Henry having a huge adoptive family of brothers, and he's just slightly smaller than all of them.
No, I want him to be a lot smaller. Like, I want Henry next to, like, actual Black Fives, and it's, like
you want the
Vegeta
difference
and, like, the
between-
really early, like, Dragon Ball, like, Z artwork, where he's just fucking tiny.
you want it to be like, you know, the size comparison between Henry and a Black 5 would be putting an actual Black 5 next to a 9F.
Yeah.
That would be kind of adorable, though.
It would be.
It's just Henry next to a fucking 414-4.
Yeah.
See, now I'm just imagining, like, Henry has one of his brothers come to visit, and, like... and, like, the engine's like, I hear you have one of my brothers here. Like, where is he? Where can I meet him? Hello. Hi, where are you? I'm down here. Why are you so small? I'm adopted.
Henry goes to crew and comes back as a big boy. Literally.
I
That's
keep
just
saying it, but
Sam.
I want a story where Henry meets one of his adopted brothers. I want someone to write that.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've exhausted all we have to say about the story.
Yeah, should we get on to ratings so we can get the fuck out of here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go first. I was gonna call this a Percy just because it's pretty, and I like what it kind of like, you know, I like what it stands for, but it's just not a very compelling story, and it is just sucking. The pacing between this and the last story just makes the special Colt obsolete after like one day. This should have been at least the final story of the book. I don't know. I was gonna give it a Percy just because it was pretty, but honestly, man, it's the James. Okay, next.
Honestly, in my notes, I didn't even put something initially. I like the Cocoa Fireman. It's Gordon. It's just kind of a missed opportunity for me. What it makes me think of is in, like, God, I don't even remember when, but when there was that interview where, like, Ian McHugh was like, yeah, if you just want nothing but railway realism and transporting around, like, just go watch a railway documentary, which was, like, a stupid thing to say, and we know now he was probably under pressure and everything. But, like, to me, this episode, like, especially the TV series version, like, I joked about it, but it's a really nice, high-budget model railway running video with, like, a vague plot line there. So it's like, yeah, there's just nothing here when there could have been for me. Get the appeal, but not for me.
Yeah.
See, for me, I'm gonna either say Gordon or James, so, like, I don't know, Jordan.
Please don't.
I'll put a picture of, like, Michael Jordan or something.
No, I guess I'll be generous and just say like low, very low James. It's pretty. That's literally all it has.
Man.
This book's like 2 for
Night
2
Train is a
mediocre.
good song.
Yeah, and what makes it worse is that now we are out of the actual supposed arc of this book, because now we have 3 stories that are more or less unrelated. Well, the next one's pretty fine, I think.
Can
You
we
know.
just commentate on, like, a scarf for Percy when we get to Percy in the trousers or whatever? Like,
No,
can we
I
just
think
watch
that
the
I think that
episode?
episode needs to be short and miserable, just like the story we're
No, but we
we're
can make
reading
it
about.
really good. It's short and miserable like the story, and then we make it really good by just talking over the TV one, which is actually good.
Well, we'll probably have a lot to say about the TV one when we actually do it, so maybe that can be the bulk of the talk.
This is the thing.
We'll see.
It's not going to be the bulk of the talk. It's going to be 100% of the talk because there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah. But, you know, At the very least, the next story is novel. So we have that to look forward to. So we'll see you next time on the Railway Series Book Club when we talk about Gordon's Whistle.
Gordon's gonna shit himself. Hope you come see it.
Oh no.
Did we do the sync when we started?
Yeah, I think so.
I just realized because I don't remember doing that. That's gonna make editing this.
Should we do it
tough.
now?
No, it's way too late.
I
for
feel
that
like you should
now.
be able to get it together through context clues. It's
no.
not that hard. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye. We're very professional. Railway Series theme goes here.